Hello, everyone. I am Storyteller. Thank you for visiting this peaceful place. I know you are looking for something soothing to help you fall asleep, and I am here to accompany you. If you enjoy, please give me a like and subscribe, and let me know where you are from. Thank you. Teddy. My name is Teddy. I'm 10 years old, and a demon wants to eat me. I can see it, but nobody else can. I can talk to it, but nobody else can. The demon screams at me at night, but I don't get scared. Even when I see spit drip from its sharp black teeth as it tries to bite my head off, I'm not afraid. I'm 10 after all. I'm not a baby. I can't tell my mom or dad about the demon, and they wouldn't believe me anyway. There are rules that you have to obey when a demon owns your soul. And one is that mom and dad can't ever know. Nobody can help me, it says. The demon promises that one day soon it will eat me until I'm almost dead. Then, with one more big bite, I'll be done for. Those huge, black, shiny teeth are sharp as my dad's razor. I'm sure they could munch through my innards like pink blancmange. We have that at school for dessert sometimes, but I don't like it anymore. The demon knows I cannot be his blancmange until I am 13. I don't know why 13. The rules are the demon's, and not mine. It knows I know about the 13 rule. I'm safe. I'm only 10. Ha! Hello. I'm Teddy, and I'm 11. A demon is dying to kill me by gobbling me up. It will eat my toes, my tummy, and lastly, my head. It owns me. It keeps on telling me, but it can't hurt me yet. Not 13, see? It still tries hard to scare me, though. It gets really mad at me and said that it can't wait to chew my head off. It can't wait to grab my skull in its 3-fingered claws that are sharp enough to gut fish or little kids. I'll bleed through my eyes as it squeezes my brains to a blood orange pulp. Finally, it will bite into my inflated head until it pops, and my blood dribbles down its chin and onto its serrated chest. It taught me the word serrated. I'd heard it before, but I didn't know what it meant. The demon said that it can mince up children straight into its belly to save time by just using this serrated kitty chest grater, like a smoothie maker for monsters. But it will not eat me in a fast, smooth way. I have to suffer slowly, it says, but it doesn't say why. The demon has shown me too how this will look. It's brought a lot of broken 13-year-old girls and boys to my bedroom at night. I said, as I saw innards come out through their bellies like red, wet sausages and get swallowed down the demon's gullet. It also taught me gullet. I like that word, but I don't really like seeing the broken kids eyes after I go to sleep. Hey there, I'm Ted. I've just turned 12. Mom says I'm almost a young man now. A lot can happen in a year. I've grown up a lot. My demon is still coming to me every single damn night. It warns me. It promises me that the agony it will inflict on me will have me begging it for death. I will know a unique suffering before it finishes me off. These aren't my words, BTW. These are demon words. It talks very passionately about me most of the time. The demon talks in lengthy detail about my death, how it will flay me, or maybe strangle me almost to death. But release me, then strangle some more, then go round again, again and again. Its rheumy, yellow, bloodshot eyes stare wistfully into the dark folds of my lampless bedroom as it describes my death. The demon bites through all my bedroom light bulbs, keeping it dark to enhance the mood. It says, Mom ran out of light bulbs. What do you keep doing in that room at night, Ted? She asks. But she wouldn't believe me, and I can't say. The demon wonders, what will I taste like? How warm will my 13-year-old blood be? How quickly will it cool and clot? Do I know my blood type? It doesn't make a difference, but it would like to know. Will my brain be aware of what is happening while I'm being eaten alive? Will the demon chuckle contentedly while it does? Oh yes, it says, it will chuckle. Will my meat be firm and tender? How loudly will my bones snap as it shears through me right down to the marrow bone? I decided I don't like that word, marrow bone. It's ugly and gives me images of the inner parts of me that shouldn't be seen, should never be messed with, and especially should never be eaten. Will I be easy for it to digest? Will I give it a dicky tummy or gas? It must be playing with me. Demons don't get gas, surely. But it says they do. Their internal digestive system is made of brimstone and lava fires that glow through its smoothie maker rotisserie chest. The gases from it exhaust through noseless nostrils and its backside. I don't know a sorry death until I hear and smell a demon fart my half-digested body, it said. It didn't say this to be funny either, and I never laughed. Sometimes the demon gets so lost in its stories of how it will enjoy violating me that I think it forgets I'm even there. But there I am, in my bed, making sure my ever so slightly hairy toes aren't poking out from the bottom of my football pitch quilt. I squirm inside when I imagine the monster chewing on my toes, my poor toes that have been content on the ends of my feet for 12 years, ungnawed. I can't quite believe that one day they will be no better than sausages on cocktail sticks at a children's birthday party, Great, Ted. Why did you go and think of that? Birthdays? My next one is, I can't quite comprehend it yet. It's real, but not real. The demon and its funky breath is very, very real. I'm still 12. For now, I'm Theodore. Tomorrow, I turn 13. I don't want to talk about it. No, Mom. I don't want a party. Greetings. I am Malphus, or Dajjal, or Zezbeth. I have been known by many names in many cultures. I have existed for centuries. All should fear me, especially children. Those that don't are the lucky ones. But awareness comes with age. Awareness brings concern. Concern brings fear. Fear brings death. I am death. I am a clock watcher, a time eater. I have no end. Teddy once thought himself eternal, as the young do, blinded by his youth, ignorant and immature. But immaturity eventually blossoms. It wears down like enamel on teeth and ripens like a blood orange, ready to be eaten. I wonder, does Teddy remember the blood orange promise I made him? Not to worry. It has no impact on his outcome. I am Malphus, the demon that ate Teddy. He was aware to the very last bite. I strangled him. I flayed him. I grated him. He begged. He suffered. He cried. I chuckled. His bones snapped loudly. His head popped messily. His marrow bone was stringy. His blood curdled. His toes were hairy. He gave me wind. My stomach feels troubled. He was too gristly, and I am still picking bits of him from between my teeth. I am the monster that finally ate Teddy, and he tasted average. They really are past their best at 13. The fix, the shorts and t-shirt, clad exercisers of various shapes and fitness levels, sipping their beverages while panting, stretching, beads of sweat on their foreheads, drying in the cool evening air, dark patches on their backs and stomachs, glaring like mournful, weeping eyes, making you feel guilty about unused gym membership that's about to expire. The tap-tap-tapping keyboard pounders, lost in worlds of their own creation, focused on the words appearing on their screens, working or creating for themselves or others. Lidded containers overseeing, like proud agents by their sides, offering encouragement, support, reward in liquid form for their efforts, judging you for your collection of rejections. The well-dressed dog lovers, their own drinks an afterthought, as they busy themselves making sure their pets have enough water in their thoughtfully provided bowls and are sitting obediently, earning treats by not making a racket. Walker and walkie taking a well-earned rest before heading home, reminding you of haunted rooms you can no longer return to. The lovers, the partners, the same-sex and opposite-sex couples, clutching hands across tables in one of 3 marquees around the hissing, steaming hazelnut, caramel, and vanilla-scented truck that has appeared in the park. Paper cup professors of caffeinated romance misting the air between glances with tendrils of tender loving steam, taunting you with wafting depictions of what was, what would have been, what no more will. The sights, the scents, the sounds of people alive, happy in this moment with their others or in their own skin, following their still unbeaten paths, writing the lyrics of their songs, being, doing, loving, with some kind of purpose, forcing a lump to lodge in your throat when you question yours, a purpose you no longer have, and perhaps never did. The something you did have, the someone who you loved and who loved you back unconditionally despite your flaws and transgressions, the someone who gave you reasons to get up, to self-motivate, who inspired you to be better, to try hard, reasons that no longer exist, the shame, the warmth in your hand, in the quickly cooling air as you accept what the man in the truck hands you, the thanks you offer, insincere, as you meet his crystalline gaze and sever it, burnt by eye contact, by those smiling irises, contentment radiating from them like accusatory lasers, making you feel ungrateful for the life you have squandered and the breath you have taken for granted. The glitch-like, stuttering awkwardness with which you turn from that man in the pristine white apron and peculiar, cocked red beret, refusing the lid and the napkins, head hung low as you seek out the most isolated table in the most empty marquee, ignoring all others as you move towards it. The laughs and snippets of conversation from people in person or on phones, chatting to family, friends, loved ones, giving household instructions, finalizing meetup plans, complaining about workloads that are stressful, making you wish you could call her about such things, making you aware of how much you threw away, the jerk of the head when you accidentally meet a woman's eyes, the ignoring of her friendly nod and greeting, the severe swerve in another direction, to slink into a seat in a lonely corner, the escape, the length of gauze wrapped around your knuckles, successfully preventing color seeping through, the clean vinyl tablecloth on the rickety picnic table, the coarse wooden bench tucked beneath, the absence of someone taking a seat beside you with their soy milk, gluten-free latte, and blueberry muffin, the swaying attendee dressed like the vendor in beret and apron, but beyond that clad in denim, head to toe, feet strapped into hobnail boots, meandering from table to table, marquee to marquee, like the needle in a broken compass that can't find north. Cloth in one hand, multi-purpose cleaning spray in the other, squirting, wiping, cleaning in no rush, smiling to no one. He ambles, a grateful glint in his green eyes, the smooth, milky liquid in your mouth as you lift your uninjured hand and tilt your head back. The difficulty swallowing the lump, the warmth flowing into your chest, melting the frozen surface of your cracked, glacial heart, the guilt, the thought of the note in one jacket pocket, the words for your mother, the apology, the weight of the newly purchased box cutter in the other, the shameful plan, this unexpected stop on the way to execute it, the coffee truck and setup that wasn't there that morning or ever before, when things were normal, the same, when you tried and made an effort to be strong, when you were wanted by someone better than you, though you had little to offer, the rising, silvery disk squinting behind jostling clouds, the quieting day, the fading light, the blinding, screaming, retching recollections of champagne and cake and celebration for a writer's work selected for publication, the realization of a long-held dream, the receipt of long-awaited recognition, the saccharine-sweet story of success, but hers, not yours, the act, the other attendees, oozing out of the truck, also in aprons and berets, with eyes that stir and probe, smiling as they enter the marquees, nodding at patrons, pleasant, friendly, nice, busying themselves, loosening ties on poles that hold up side panels, letting white PVC barriers drop to the grass, shutting out the park, the trees, the darkening sky, the faint lunar reflection, broken and distorted in warped, uneven plastic windows, the people in your marquee and others finishing their drinks and standing up, prompted by this closing up routine. The wooden panel in the truck's vending window swinging shut, the shuffling of feet and yapping dogs, the froth and bubbles in the golden brown liquid in your hand, spinning as you swirl it round and round, the lowering level of the fluid as you lift, tilt, gulp, watching it diminish like time. The last marquee, side panel, dropping, trapping you inside like another prison, beyond the ones of meat and bone and thought. Your cellmates making for the loose, hanging flap that is an out. The man reading the newspaper, the woman nursing the baby, the teenager scrolling on phone, standing up and striding from their tables, taking up position by the door, the sudden screams from unseen marquees on either side, making you jump, Spill your last precious ounces. Knock the bench to the ground as you marionette up the utterances of shock and surprise, the disbelief and confusion, the discarded newspaper, the babyless bundle of dropped towels, the dark screen phone cast aside, the side panels rising as berated, aproned attendees duck under and in, silent, smiling, shifting like sidling snakes, the flash of pointed teeth as their lips splay wide, the panic, the joggers, the dog walkers, the writers and bound in love souls, pounced on by newspaper reader, fake baby feeder, pretend phone, scroller, and others, knocked onto tables and to the ground, clawed and pawed, clothing torn, chests and necks exposed, the yelping dogs that escape into the night as masters and mistresses shriek, the box cutter in your hand, your finger on the switch, the blade click, click, clicking forth, the fear clutching your heart like a pair of hands, throttling the image, the hand on your forehead and the arm around your chest as you hold the blade out to defend, the unbalancing tug, the forced turn, the visage of evil, hovering close, like in a mirror, the beret, the crystal eyes, the gaping maw and teeth, the hypnotic stare that pulverizes the fragments of your clay heart and causes your body to stiffen, the face craning close, the hot breath on your neck, the pop and puncture of flesh, the memories, broken glass, shouted insults, anger bloomed from the seeds of perceived failure, raised fists, temperatures, voices, bruises and blood, the teeth sinking in, cold like daggers of ice, the frozen lips clamping to flesh with rubber-like suction, the precious source of life exsanguinating out her face, screaming her dismay. She gave you everything, all her trust and faith, her support. She believed in you. You let her down. The death of love, the box cutter, propelled by instinct, blade slicing through tissue-thin flesh, serrated edge carving up gristle, the steaming, warm essence of all things that live washing over your hand, the gauze bandage stained red at last, the chuckle in your throat as a monster drinks its fill, the realization of futility as a monster surrenders, the smile on your lips, the roll of your eyes, the abandonment of hope and acceptance, the curse of being a coward to the end, the story. What was the story? What was it called? The relief, the story, the one that she wrote, the one about vampires, the release, the vampires who get their caffeine fix from blood, the revulsion, the blood that drains out of your veins. Now the story is yours. The menagerie, Don Benway and his father, were regulars at the hospital's oncology department and on familiar terms with Jerry, the head porter. "Morning, handsome," Jerry would say as he approached. "How are we today?" "A darn sight better than you," Walter would say, muttering behind his bandages. Walter had undergone regular surgery for over 3 years, and during that time, they'd snipped, sliced, and cut away so many facial lesions, he was almost unrecognizable. "Your usual seat, sir?" Jerry would ask, smiling as he pushed Walter's wheelchair. "Do I have a choice in the matter?" The plastic surgeons couldn't keep pace with Walter's disfigurement, and, as a result, he'd retreated from life and deteriorated both physically or mentally. Don was 9 years old back in 1977 when his family moved to the house that became their long-term family home. The Benway family attended a viewing the week before they moved in. It was the first time Don had visited the house and met Mr. and Mrs. Jolly. The couple had lived there most of their adult lives and cherished their old place. Despite their advanced years, they'd maintained the garden, and the Benway family would inherit an impressive collection of mature trees, shrubs, and plants, not to mention a curious menagerie of assorted wildlife. While Mr. Jolly escorted Don's parents around the interior, Mrs. Jolly showed the lad all the secret nooks and crannies in the garden, concluding her tour with an introduction to her tortoises, Thomas and Tabitha. Don's face beamed like an early morning sunrise when he met the wrinkly old reptiles. Their cold, scaly flesh and severe faces were both characterful and hideous at the same time. The old lady encouraged Don to offer them lettuce. His hand trembled as he offered the crisp leaves, and he laughed out loud when they recoiled into their gnarled shells. "Oh no, what did I do? Don't worry, they'll get used to you. Are you leaving them here?" "It's their home," she said, "and they'll bring good luck." She held Don's hand, and holding his gaze, made him promise to look after them. "I'll do my best," he said. "Let's meet the other creatures." "Yes, please," he said with twinkling eyes. Mrs. Jolly introduced Don to the other inhabitants of her garden, explaining how to care for the small aviary of chirruping canaries and the modest, ornamental pond containing a dozen lethargic goldfish. At the exchange of contracts, the conveyancing solicitor notified Don's parents about the deal breaker. It's yes to the menagerie, or no sale. Don's father's jaw sagged in disbelief, and he voiced his objections, saying how much he couldn't abide pets. The lawyer shrugged and made it clear he got paid either way. However, Don's mother, Anita, had fallen in love with the house and fought her corner. Mr. Benway backed down for once and agreed to sign, providing he had no responsibility for the damn beasts. So said, so done. The completion date went ahead as planned, despite Walter's issue with the caveat, and he refused to acknowledge the animals. "I can't see the point of those ugly old creatures," he said, shaking his head. "They're supposed to bring good luck," Don said. "If we look after them, "But they look half dead to me," said Walter. "And they're so slow. You'll be old and creaking one day," said his wife. "Nobody would miss them if they were dumped in a hole and covered in soil." Dawn's mother rolled her eyeballs and sighed. She knew how to pick her battles and when to walk away from a pointless conversation. The solicitor completed the legal arrangements, and Dawn assumed charge of his new animal companions. Prior to marriage, Anita Benway had enjoyed the company of an excitable terrier called Dougal, who now lived with Dawn's maternal grandmother. "Don't you miss Dougal?" Dawn asked his mother one day. "Why, yes," she'd said. "But I can't look after him here, dear." "Why not?" "Your father's not keen," she'd said, sighing. Besides, Dougal's splendid company for Granny. Under the circumstances, Dawn was fortunate his father granted him any time to care for the motley collection in their new garden. The new-found responsibility was a life-enhancing experience Dawn would remember forever. However short-lived, it was the goldfish that vanished first. Mr. Benway blamed the local heron for their disappearance. Dawn accepted his father's explanation without question, and it wasn't until years later that he queried events. It was possible the beady-eyed predator had spotted the listless fish basking in the warm summer water. But had it swooped down and skewered them? It was doubtful, because they'd covered the water with a strawberry net designed to prevent such an occurrence. There was little chance of the bird reaching beneath the mesh, unless somebody had removed it. Walter's skin complaint started with 1 or 2 minor blemishes. He couldn't stop scratching. He had dry patches on his cheekbones, forehead, and temples that irritated him. The long-term result of a casual indifference to the perils of sunburn and skin protection. Dawn noticed him digging at them with his fingernails while he read his newspaper, watched TV, and during mealtimes at the dining table. Walter's urge to scratch was an instinctive and almost unconscious reaction. His tiny weeping sores would bleed, scab over, dry out, and itch like mad again. The aviary remained intact for about a year, until the last of the canaries vanished. It never occurred to Dawn that their dwindling numbers might be associated with his father's activities in the garden. Dawn was diligent about shutting the wire mesh door after feeding times, and couldn't work out how it was often ajar, or why Mephistopheles, the neighbor's tabby, looked so pleased with himself, licking his moist claws as if he'd enjoyed a 3-course meal. Walter dismantled the rickety wooden structure after the last resident disappeared and burned the remains at Halloween. Dawn asked for a replacement. It wasn't an option. "You'll just have to be happy with the tortoises, son," said his father, smirking, "and make the most of them while they're alive and kicking." It was after Halloween when Dawn first noticed the tortoises had vanished. There was no obvious explanation for their disappearance. He didn't suspect the heron, and Mephistopheles was nowhere to be found. "No point in worrying," said Mr. Benway. "I'm sure they'll return to trouble us again." Dawn's mother was a brave soul, bless her, and always gave sound advice based on common sense and astute observation. Anita had warned Walter about the dangers of scratching himself years before she passed away. She told her husband he was making his complaint worse and threatened to either clip his fingernails or knit him woolen mittens to prevent irritation and subsequent infection. Walter tutted with exasperation at her remarks, despite acknowledging she was correct. But would he stop? No way. In Anita's absence, Walter persisted against her advice, and his condition deteriorated. After 15 years of itching and scratching, the affected areas of skin expanded beyond all expectation, screaming out loud for medical intervention. It's standard practice to have sun-damaged skin removed, Walter's consultant said, recommending an initial series of minor operations to remove the first malignant lumps. The surgeons described the offending growths as blossoms, as if they were intriguing botanical discoveries to be dissected, examined, and archived for future generations of horticulturists to study and discuss in their PhD essays. 3 years ago, Walter's consultant found a lump on his neck that looked like cancer. He took a sample, and the lab results were indisputable. It was serious. They had to take positive action. The hospital rushed Dawn's father to the front of the queue. Within 2 weeks, they admitted him to hospital and started a month-long course of radiotherapy, resulting in emergency surgery. They removed a golf ball-sized tumor growing on his neck between his clavicle and jawbone. Walter's condition had started as sun damage and developed into galloping melanomas. It was the turning point for Walter. The oncologist gave him a low percentage chance of surviving another year. Contrary to his prediction, however, they prolonged Walter's life a further 3 years, but at a cost. Dawn's father took on an uncanny appearance. His once inquisitive and bright features disappeared after countless amounts of invasive surgery. The tip of his left ear was the first item to be snipped off. His attitude was stoic at that point. "It's you lot that have the problem," he'd said, brushing aside the issue. "I don't have to look at it, and I'm not worried about losing it." Very brave, Dawn thought, until the other ear faced the same treatment. Walter was much less philosophical at that point. He often pondered on cause and effect, and cursed his years of pottering about in the sun and dodging his wife's Factor 20. 2 years later, and he had both ears removed and 80% of his nose. Both nostrils were bloody gashes, above stretched and scabbed, beak-like lips. Both eyes stared, unblinking, out of lidless sockets, and they'd reconstructed his forehead and eyebrows with pale and ill-matching flesh grafts. In places, the new skin flapped like an unfurled sail in the doldrums, and in other locations, it was tight like a snare drum at a state funeral. His entire head had become a work in progress because the surgeons had struggled to keep pace with malignant outcrops. They passed him around the department for every aspiring surgeon to add to the disfigured conglomeration, rebuilding his features as if he were an ancient building in need of a facelift, bashed back into shape, and finished with a few quick licks of skin-toned emulsion. It's easy to underestimate the psychological damage inflicted. Walter's habits changed to accommodate the process of assessment, consultation, and surgical procedure. He seldom ventured out during daylight, and then, with a great coat and a raised collar, his own shell-like protection, like a reptilian secret agent, disguising himself and hiding from the world, lest he draw aghast reactions or pitiful, tight-lipped expressions of sympathy. It was painful to watch the slow transformation unfold, and heartbreaking to witness him become a wretched creature, hobbling about like the monstrous denizen of Geneva that Mary Shelley transformed into a famous fictional creation, stitched together from ill-matched body parts and second-hand components, and destined to a lonely existence, or hounded by ignorant townsfolk baying for blood. For the last year, every part of Walter's life revolved around the work required to fix him up and restore some degree of his former dignity. Given the state of his face since they started tweaking and tinkering with his facial lesions, he would have been better off employing Cecilia Gimenez to restore his looks. At least her work was consistent, as poor as it may be. In Walter's case, it looked as if they'd invited a dozen Cecilias to have a go. Don couldn't help looking at his father and thinking about the absent tortoises, their unblinking eyes, angular beaks, and scaly reptilian skin. He didn't believe in reincarnation, but Don couldn't help wondering if the missing amphibians had made their presence felt in some awful and grisly fashion. Creatures embroiled in karma's stealthy activities, visiting the family, perhaps in some other guise, to remind everyone that life in all its forms matters. It was after Mr. Benway's recent funeral that Don discovered the remains of Thomas and Tabitha. He was turning over the soil to the rear of the old family home when his spade hit something hard. After further investigation in the immediate area, Don unearthed not one, but two hollowed-out tortoise shells, their former inhabitants long reclaimed back to the earth. With the grim remains at his feet and the childhood memories of the menagerie's quiet demise, Don clenched his jaw and drew a long breath. What would drive any creature to burrow into the ground to die? A question he had long abandoned returned to haunt him. Surely it wasn't deliberate. The identity thief. This is the hunter's badge of glory, that he protects and tends his quarry, hunts with honor, as is due, and through the beast to God is true. Jagermeister by Oscar von Riesenthal, taken from the back of a Jägermeister bottle, half full. I am left to imagine the circumstances of a most unusual case, which has the Grimlace's handiwork written all over it. The Grimlace has stolen another victim's visage and memories, leaving her a withered amnesiac. She was wandering ghost-like amid the streets of Frankfurt, with no idea how to return or where she called home. My name is Hildegard Köppen, I tell her, but everyone calls me Hilda. Pleased to meet you. And she trails off, unable to remember her own name. It's okay, my dear. This is all quite normal, I tell her. I turn on my dictaphone and make my report. It is 23:36 in the evening. The patient's name is Greta Thunderberg. The patient is approximately 32 years of age, according to confirmed medical records. Greta presents with symptoms of sudden onset retrograde amnesia. She reports no memory of her whereabouts, or how she reported to Polizeireiter Staffel HE off the River Main. She complains of persistent tinnitus, disorientation, and a total loss of recent memory, as well as an inability to recall various aspects of her personality, or apparently her own name. When asked if she is a serious person or a fun-loving one, she says, "I hardly know myself at all. I couldn't say." When asked if she enjoys large gatherings and social occasions, she says, "I should like to try it and see." She is completely flat. When asked, "Are you upset about your present condition?" she says, "I feel fine." Her face is frozen, as if she has had an excessive amount of Botox serum injected. There are neither any signs of physical trauma nor any indication of the use of surgical instruments, and the blood work is normal. My diagnosis is that there has been a sudden hypoxic event and a hardening of neural connections occasioned by calcification from exposure to chemical antagonists, causing sudden onset retrograde amnesia, all of which is consistent with a Grimlace attack. I release the patient back to her police escort, who thanks me and is on his way. Brainy, that's me. Cut it, treat it, study it. I do it all. Neurosurgeon, neurologist, and neuroscientist. Check, check, and check. And you can add dissect it to that list. Did you know that forgetting is actually part of the learning process? I'll bet you didn't. But not everyone has brains on their mind like I do. My true calling, however, is the hunt for the Grimlace. I have been stalking this freak of nature for over a decade, but this is the first time that I have ever been able to anticipate catching my quarry and finally seeing what it is made of. We are the Knights of Kadosh, a sect of the Scottish Rite, We are closely aligned with our brethren, the Knights of Tavistock in St. Petersburg. We hunt monsters. And my special assignment these many years is to rid the world of the dreaded Grimlace. After all this time, I have finally found a witness to the first Grimlace attack. Just past 1 o'clock in the morning, Agatha is coming to life. The tea kettle is whistling in the kitchen, and Agatha hums as she pours herself a cup, her hand shaking as she tips the kettle. Although Agatha was a precise woman and always had her hands perfectly manicured, the ends of her nails are growing out with ragged abrasions, and the nail polish is badly chipped. Our shared apartment is a high-rise at 140 West in West End Sud. There is a view of the city skyline and the Taunus Mountains beyond. "Where have you been, Heidi?" "I've been worried," Agatha asks. "Interviewing a victim of an attack," I say with a shrug. "I called you 2 hours ago. Remember, Mum? But what about your dinner with Renee? Did you forget?" Agatha asks. "That was last week, Mother." "Is someone changing your calendar?" she asks, hands on her hips. "You know there are a lot of doctors that want your position in the Faculty of Medicine at Goethe Universität, who would do anything to get you out of there." "Oh, Mother, no need to worry about me. Did you watch your show?" Is it already 8? Agatha asked. "Mother, it is nearly 2 in the morning," I tell her, and walk into my study. "I have to finish some work, Mum. Get some sleep." I can barely stand to look at her when I can't do anything about it. My mother was a fine physician and a woman of prominence. She has now been reduced to this dwelling invalid who sulks about being imprisoned by her own mind. I know she won't turn in until the sun comes down. I have given up trying to get her into a normal sleep schedule. After all, it is not as if I have one myself. She'll just sit on the balcony now, staring into space, as if the vista of the horizon will give her a chance to remember that she is in the process of forgetting. It has taken nearly a decade, but I am able to locate the stagehand who was present the night of the first Grimlace attack. The English theater was playing Saint Joan of the Stockyards, and Diril Verloren had top billing on the playbill. Louise recalled. "I've heard of that play. He was playing the meat-packing magnate, Pierpont Mahler," Louise says. "And you were there, watching from behind the curtains, during the entire play?" I ask, jotting notes. "Not the whole time," Louise says. "Where did you go?" I ask. "At one point, I ended up going out back in the alley to have a cigarette, and found the understudy, Roach, speaking with a strange-looking woman," Louise says. "We will come back to that," I tell him, blowing at some hair that has come untucked from my ponytail and is dangling over my left eye. What did Diril look like? Diril was a tall man, about 6'4", just stunning. He had a lean, lanky build. His coiled hair hung down in a shag cut. He had large, straight, white teeth that gleamed in the stage lighting. He had really bad ADHD, with a cutting, manic intellect. He was always gesticulating and animated, and always at an 11 out of 10. Luis says. Was he under the influence of anything? I ask. Other than his own self-importance and fame, you mean? Amphetamines. Adderall was pretty standard. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, Luis said. I think that addiction is an impermanent solution to a permanent problem. How was the performance? I ask. He was a star. I remember his voice rising to a crescendo as he said, "Oh, everlasting slaughter." Nowadays, things are no different from prehistoric times, when they bloodied each other's heads with iron bars. It was quite the performance, Luis said. The words set off a spark of revelation as I struggled to understand my prey. I think of the price of fame for a performer. One must corral and direct a revelatory energy. From the crushing terror of the stage, the spotlight that leaves one exposed and vulnerable, an artist must mine this energy for a competence that once achieved is received, applauded, and becomes the most addictive of drugs. Yet the act is separate from the actor. The skill is separate from the skilled. The applause is not love, but mere recognition. This is not connection. There is a deep spiritual appetite in all of us for true connection. Nothing looks like a better cure for being invisible than fame. And yet, fame is the great invisibility cloak, a mask more isolating than a veil of solitude, for it expunges the person altogether, elevating their vocation and placing all value in the performance of their craft. The person behind the act starves and is strangled and becomes a slave to their role. I think of how similar this is to my mother's spells of dementia and the forgetfulness brought on by Alzheimer's. In between those shining moments for her when she has clarity of thought, in between those turns upon the stage, both die and fade into oblivion. Returning from my daydreams, I ask, did anyone have any reason to wish him harm? Just Rach Egeman, a little worm of a man. That is what we called him. Irm the Worm, ever since he played some slithering stock character named Ermin. Name just stuck. Anyway, Rach was next in line for the male lead on one show after another, and he couldn't get anywhere with his career with Deerl in his way. He had the acting chops, but he wasn't a star. He was short, unmemorable looking, just average in every way, whereas Deerl was extraordinary all around. It was never a fair contest between the two of them. And you say you saw Rach speaking with someone in the alley during the show? I ask. Why, yes, in fact, we knew her. She was a stage designer, a mystic gypsy from the outskirts named Emile Scioli. A real loner, if there ever was one. She was a sharp-featured woman of about 70, thin as a bird, with a long pea coat. Always wore a blue amethyst hamza on her neck. She was smoking a Marlboro cigarette impatiently, Luis recalls. Did you overhear what they said? I ask. Yes. Did you bring what I asked? She said, stamping her foot against the bitter cold. Then he responded, I have it. That was it. And then he rushed back inside with something in his hand. So what happened next? I asked. At some point, toward the end of the play, Dirrell collapsed. When he came to, he was like a man possessed. He began pacing the stage, and then as he looked out over the audience, he screamed at them as if a wild animal baring its teeth and growling to keep a threat at bay. And do you know what caused this transformation? I ask. No one does, Luis says. Are there any working theories? I inquire. There is a rumor that Aisha was deeply jealous. Apparently, Rach had originally been cast as Pierpont Mauler. It was all settled. The playbill was printed. But then Dirrell called the theater director and said he was interested in the part. They couldn't refuse. So Dirrell upstaged Rach right when he had his big break. Rach could not forgive it. He went off in long tirades. Some believe that Emile Scioli, the gypsy, was part of a group that worshipped the Croton Duvel, the toad devil. They had tattoos of toads stamped on their eyelids and believed that this deity possessed the ability to erase memory, to turn invisible, and to walk among men as a blind wanderer, spreading the void of loss among the people. Some believe that toads are poor sinners serving a penance of tears and relegated to the dank, dark places and to a life of slime and bugs in order to purge their souls. Wandering spirits in an earthly purgatory, the grips and stage hands, who know Rach best, said that he has a pearl toad statue given to him by Emile Scioli that has the words inscribed on it, which say, Beng Tasser Toot. And they say the toad has a golden choker collar on it and is somehow connected to the affliction poor Dirrell suffered. They say that Rach guards the toad statue with his life, and if it is ever destroyed, Dirrell will be healed. This is very helpful, Luis. That is a lot to digest. I'll be in touch if I have further questions. I tell him. The grim lace has no shadow. It walks below the street lights in the alley, donning a black cloak. Its hands and face are green. Its face has no contour, just a flat canvas, until it dawns the visage of one of its victims as the grim lace slinks through the streets of Frankfurt by the train station. The streets are filled with drunks, prostitutes, and panhandlers. An old man sits with a bottle, huddled in a corner by some trash overflowing from a dumpster. He has rags about his shoulders, but his face is thin and handsome below his rugged, unkempt beard. The grim lace turns his green blank face to the man, who looks at him transfixed, and the grim lace latches on to him. A beam of translucent, opaque jelly forms between them. The bond, and the Grimlace slinks in, bends to his knee, and draws out the man's visage, the man's memories, and shrinks within his robes to the height of his victim. Renewed, he stands to his feet, like a performer taking on a new role, and gains comfort in his own skin, lets the memories inhabit him, and he throws off his cloak, strolling into the square. I receive a call from the detective. He tells me that there has been a beggar who has gone missing. His daughter has come to the precinct to make the report. He tells me that the incident occurred near the train station. I thank him, and I am off with my hunting bag to find the Grimlace. The cloaked creature, with the green hue to his skin, is pacing along the entrance to the train station, where the beggar used to set up each morning. In my bag is a mirror, a cattle prod, and a Sig Sauer 45-meter pistol. I find a bank of deep shadows by the corner and observe my mark. The Grimlace does not seem to know that it is adorning the persona of another human being. It seems utterly lost in its contrivance, cursed, as Louise had said. It seems to be in agony every bit as much as the woman Greta who came to my clinic the other day. Does this creature sleep? It lets out a blood-curdling chortle. Oh my God! The beggar must have been schizophrenic. The creature is hearing voices. I see the creature begin the painful, agonizing pantomime of a schizoid talking to himself and arguing a rationalization audibly, projecting failures to a second personality or a persecutor. This is one of the most common psychotic breaks, where the mind cannot accept its own failures and must personify or anthropomorphize its afflictions. If you hadn't told on me, I would have kept my job. You were drunk. It was you. You sneaky FK, you falsely accused me. You went to Lars and made a fuss, and see where I am now. I hope you are proud of yourself. Rat. And you are the one. You. A drunk. An ingrate. A lazy, good-for-nothing piece of La, shut up, get away from me. Police, I am being attacked. Ow, stop, get away. I didn't touch you. No, stop, get away. Violator, violation. Stop hurting me. Stop talking, you dirty snitch. I watched the Grimlace rummaging back and forth, gesticulating manically, screaming, yelling, and talking to himself in a fierce blame jeopardy that I know from experience can go on for many hours. The paranoid spell of a tortured mind trying to reconcile an unacceptable fate and a cruel, unforgiving world that hands down curses and bruises with indiscriminate malice. I could find him again soon. I could make a quick detour. He would be going on like this for hours, if not days, until he was arrested, which would just land him down at the precinct. Back at the English theater, I find Rach Egeman's dressing room. He is now playing the part of the lead in every play. He has ascended to the pinnacle of the profession. Ah, my adoring fan. What? Do you want me to sign the playbill? Yes, can I come in? I ask. Here, come sit, he says with glee, but I do not sit. I take out the cattle prod and place it on the carotid artery on his neck, and with a small squeeze, he shrieks and falls to the floor. I begin my search. After a few minutes, I find the toad talisman and stow it in my bag. Back by the train station, Dearl is still going on and on. I take out my gun and the toad statute. I place the statute on the ground. I fire a single shot, and the talisman shatters into 1,000 pieces. I look over at Dearl and see his face suddenly return to its natural state. I walk up to him cautiously. I am Hilda, I say. I've been searching for you a long time. Where am I? Dearl asks. The train station is just down there. What do you remember? I ask. I don't know, Dearl says. You must be disoriented, I say. It's more than that. I don't even know who I am, Dearl says. Quite right. But who among us really does? We all wear 1,000 masks and scarcely know where the real person begins and the artifice ends. Don't you think? Who are you? Dearl asks. Let's go back to my clinic and see if we can't get this sorted out, I tell him, as we walk together in the eerie alleys of a lovely Frankfurt night. We pass by the English theater, and I watch as Dearl's eyes sparkle with intrigue. What are they playing tonight? Dearl asks, behind closed doors. Have you seen this boy? The woman behind the chained door shook her head at the creased photograph. He's 6 here, Anna urged, but he's closer to 8 now. Ain't seen him. Sorry, truly I am. The woman hung her head, closing the door. Anna had almost gotten used to it. The slamming doors, the constant barrage of no's, dejected looks momentarily sharing her horror. Then straight back to daily life with the squeak of a hinge and the click of a lock. That's just what normal people do. Life goes on, for most. Times she wished she could close the door on it, say goodbye, give up. But what kind of mother would that make her? Sliding the photo into her inside jacket pocket, she pressed it to her chest, where he belonged. Men huddled on the apartment steps, threw dice, and glared at her as she left. Women shouting from sash windows at kids playing on the street shook their heads at the sight of her. Sorrow? Pity? Repulsion? She didn't know, nor care. By reputation alone, most everyone in Hartsville knew her, or of her. She'd become as much a lost soul as little Jimmy, except no one hunted for her. Not anymore. Released without substantial evidence is how the lawyers explained it. Not innocent, not guilty, somewhere in between, and cast into the worst court of them all, the public. Half the town and all her family blamed her for Jimmy's disappearance, and half again thought she murdered him. Some things just don't rub out after printing. Drawing deep from a cigarette, she leaned against the rust bucket she called a car, and home, its windows crowded with the few possessions her former husband allowed her to have. Gazing up and down the street, she considered how much longer she could do this. How many more shoes could she wear through? How many? Hey, you. Anna turned, searching for the smooth voice. A tall figure lurked in the alleyway opposite, features hidden by the descending sun, intentions none the plainer. Cocking an eyebrow, she pointed to her chest. Yeah, you. Come here. Waving her over, he disappeared into the poster-tattered passage. Discarding the cigarette, she made a show of tucking her 4-day fresh white tank top into her equally dirty jeans. In reality, she ran a hand under her cargo jacket, making sure the snub nose would be easy to pull. Only a fool came into the Devil's Basement, as the locals called it, unready, unprotected, or more worrying, unwilling to do what might be needed to be done. Steadying her breathing, she edged between the cars and made for the mystery man, standing at the other end now, 1 foot on the crumbling red brickwork, arms folded, eyes closed, his head tilted to the gathering clouds. What do you want? She asked, placing her hands on her hips. Not me. He didn't open his eyes. Well, who? Boss man. Should that mean something to me? Maybe. It doesn't. Now what's this about? He needs a job doing. Says you're the woman for it. Sorry. Don't do job interviews in back alleyways. She turned, throwing a dismissive wave over her shoulder. Here now, woman. Before you go, he wants you to have this. He extended a closed fist, finally opening his eyes. She stepped back, squinting in disbelief at his yellow stare, blazing like the midsummer sun. Nonetheless, curiosity sunk its teeth into her. What's that? A gift. If you like, more be waiting after a ride in that car down there. Nodding toward the perpendicular laneway, Anna leaned out, all cautious, like to spot a rumbling estate wagon. Who's in that? And where would it take me? Trust me, woman. You ain't going to care after you see this. He waggled his fist. She extended a shaking palm. His fingers unfurled. Her heart stopped, then hammered, temple thumping loud. Impossible. Stomach knotting, hairs spiked the length of her neck. How? Dizziness overcame her, faint, happy, angry. It was all too much. Tears welled as she lifted that tiny yellow watch, the one with the cracked Power Ranger face Jimmy flipped open and shut when he got nervous. Terrified of the answer, yet hoping it to be true, She turned it over. J.C. engraved on its back. Jimmy Crawford, her Jimmy. She took off before her reeling mind could catch up, and within seconds flung open the car door. She knew the kind of mother she was. Relentless, the bag over her head didn't scare her, nor the machete-wielding woman next to her. Not even the fact they'd been driving for at least an hour now. No. What scared her was herself. She just jumped without thinking. Anyone could have faked that watch. It was common knowledge he wore one the day he disappeared, but not the engraving Jimmy did with a nail. Or was it? She racked her memory. The car slowed to a stop. Another stop sign. Traffic. The cops? With a mechanical click, the doors unlocked, swung open, and someone seized her elbow. "Let's go, woman." Her bated breath gathered like dew under her nose. Stones crunched underfoot. Then a hinge complained, as what sounded like a heavy metal door groaned open. "There's steps here. Wouldn't it be easier to take this thing off?" Anna asked, trying to add a little unfelt humor to her voice. A sharp jab between her shoulders was the only reply. She didn't ask any more questions, humorous or not. The descent stretched impossibly long, like the moment you see a child falling, but are too slow to react. With each step, the heat grew inferno hot. Sweat matted her hair, dampened her talk, stung her eyes. Where were they taking her? What did they want? Another door opened. The stench of sweat and sewage hitting her harder than a bat. Then music, laughter, glasses clinking. Prodded onwards, silence fell in her wake. Pushed into a chair, she grunted. Canvas bag whipped from her head. She panted the stale air. The room flickered. Tiny flames dancing behind red glass scattered across a discord of tables. Everything blurred as if staring through a heat wave. Licking her lips, she tried making sense of the shapes. Like a head swelling adrenaline rush, everything stopped swaying and came rushing into sobering focus. Hunched over a curved counter, a man fished juicy maggots from a writhing jar, then dropped them, slurping into his toothless mouth. Two skeletal, thin women, wearing nothing but dog collars, curled at the feet of an obese man, rubbing goose fat through his hair. Young men howled at a geriatric pole dancer, whilst an amputee burn victim served curdled milk. All the while, a man on a small stage played dirty blues on a gore-splattered guitar, face a snarled rictus, fingers bloody stumps, vomit climbing her throat, blood draining from her face. She gripped the round table as a drowning man may grip driftwood. Jesus Christ, not quite. She spun to the chocolate, rich-voiced stranger opposite. He wore a smoldering cigar on thin lips, a sneer in his ember eyes, yellowish smoke drifting from flared nostrils. "You this boss, man?" He nodded. Courage boiled from the gun in her waistband. "Where's my boy?" Around. He waved a hand festooned with many rings across the debauchery on display. "You'll see him when the time's right, when the deal is done." He leaned from the shadows, elbows making the table creak. "Prove it. Prove he's here." Yellow Eyes dropped a tattered ball of fabric into boss man waiting palm. Then he threw it at Anna. Unrolling that faded Superman t-shirt, her chin trembled. Jimmy's t-shirt. What happened to him? Did these people hurt him? She swallowed her fear and the urge to run. Jimmy was here. After 2 years, she finally found something. Something more terrifying than these foul bastards. Hope. What do you want? Where did you get this? She cuddled the disintegrating garment. No small talk? She held his burning gaze. Fair enough. He was wearing it when we found him. Where? Not far. Right under your nose, actually. A neighbor. A fucking what? She leapt up, anger hammering her chest. He held out his hands. Calm, Anna. I'm here to help, Anna. Help? Why? Let's say I've a soft spot for the innocent and outcast. He gestured to sit. She complied. Although it's not the only reason. You see, I provide a service to our little community of Hartville. And you? Well, you are 2 birds, 1 stone. Wouldn't it be nice to stop running? Get the vengeance you deserve. Vengeance? I just want my son. Please. Her voice broke, unstoppable tears falling. You'll want revenge. Boss Man studied his nails without a care in the world. A local woman came to me, told me of a man, a terrible man, patrolling the local parks and schools. Said he was offering sweets and toys to her nieces to get into his van. Smart girls ran away. The police, however, did little. The law is weak that way. He paused, puffed his cigar, and blew smoke into Anna's face. So I sent some of my hounds. He nodded to Yellow Eyes and Machete, to rain some hell on this pervert. Thing is, it was clear that his house, his deviant prison, was being used by more than just him. A ring, as they say. We searched the premises, found poor Jimmy chained to a bed frame in the basement with 2 others, little more than malnourished sex dolls. Anna's stomach turned, terror and anger searing her insides. She wanted to hurt someone, anyone. A little torture goes a long way, Anna. Remove a little flesh, and tada, the pervert gave up the names of his accomplices. Would you like to know who they are? Jaw clenched. She hissed the word. Who? I'll give you 3 names. You do what needs to be done. You'll see your boy again. We have a deal? How will I get back here? I don't know. Levi will go with you. Yellow's eyes winked at her. So, is that a yes? No sooner had she agreed than that damn canvas bag was pulled over her head once more. Anna dove into the station wagon's back seat, ears ringing, heart thumping, throat choked with the metallic aftertaste of gunpowder. Levi smiled between the seats. "Damn, Miss Crawford, you a cold bitch. No hesitation. He opens the door, and you just fucking drive already," Anna barked, balling the cuff of her jacket and rubbing at the crimson mottling her face. "Ha, okay, you the boss tonight." Anna stared out the rear window at the tree-lined street and white picket fences speeding by, concerned neighbors stumbling into the road to investigate the woman, wailing over her husband's body at 46 Broken Ridge Avenue. Little did they know the service Anna just did for them. Eradicated suburban filth. First of 3, she rested the revolver on her knee. Somehow, it felt lighter, as if that one bullet carried away the weight of her suffering, her loss. But he wasn't lost. He was waiting for her. Something unexpected curled the edge of her lip. "You smiling, Miss Crawford?" Levi asked into the rearview mirror. "You are. Cold bitch. You're going to fit real nice." She shook her head, dismissing both comment and grin. "Who's next?" "Edward." "Calhoun." Anna repeated the name, tracking her finger down the apartment buzzer's nameplates. "There you are." 2 short buzzes, a click, a cough, then, "Hello, who's there?" "Mr. Calhoun, sorry to disturb you." She already picked a name from those displayed. "This is Jessica Longstein. I've lost my key again. And you were the first to..." Yeah. The electrical hum of the magnetic release sent a chill down her spine. Not fear, but anticipation. One step closer to Jimmy, 4 flights of stairs. One long, worn, carpeted hallway. And she stood outside his peeling door. Patiently, she waited for a Latino couple to get on the elevator, then knocked, placing a hand over the spyglass. Floorboards groaned from within. A chain rattled, a bolt slid, and she found herself staring at a stout, unshaven man in his 50s, wearing a blue telecoms shirt. "What can I do for you, Missy?" "This is for Jimmy." His eyes stretched, fearful wide. At the name, the crazed redhead at his door, or the gun inches from his face. It didn't matter. Pull, click, bang. His last thoughts sprayed over the cracked plaster inside, his body collapsing as though its bones turned to mud. For a second, she watched him, hopeless, pathetic, no longer a danger. She breathed deep. 1 to go. "Miss Crawford, yo, Anna. Startling awake, she grabbed Levi's poking hand, blinked into focus, then looked about. She lay in the back of the car. A cul-de-sac of 2-story houses loomed outside, quiet with barely a light on, the moon hanging low, shimmering off their slate roofs. Anna stretched, cracked her neck, then shook her face. How long were we driving? I can't believe I fell asleep. It's the adrenaline. Big come down. Happens all the time. I took the long way here. Had to avoid prying eyes. That last one definitely got some flashing light attention. But this is it here, Miss Crawford. Levi pointed out the side window to a silhouetted figured light by the glow of a computer screen, typing into the small hours. Anna sucked her teeth, sniffed, pulled the lapels of her jacket, then checked her gun. Dirty bastard was probably on some chat site, pretending to be a teen girl or some other filth. You ready? And willing, Anna answered, shuffling and gently closing the door. She caught sight of her reflection, frazzled and blood-specked, and an idea fizzled into being. She grabbed her arm, dragged her leg, and hobbled towards the downstairs window. It didn't take long for him to spot her. Taking off his glasses, he twitched the curtains. Mister, please, she whimpered. I went off the road, round the corner. I need... Holding up a hand, he dashed from the room. A porch light sparked to life, and the front door opened. You okay, lady? What the hell? He spun, roaring, as the bullet tore through his shoulder. He tried dragging himself back across the perfectly manicured lawn, but it was useless. The hammer fell. Back of the head, he jerked, spasmed, fell still. It was done. She smiled, running back to the car. She could already feel Jimmy in her arms. Her sweet, innocent little Jimmy. The macabre cabaret garnered no interest this time around, and she stared straight at Boss Man when the canvas bag was removed. My boy, she said, not a request, placing the revolver on the table before her. He smiled, swirled a glass of red wine, drank, then nodded to no one in particular. Eternity stretched out before her, biting her lip, fingers drumming the scarred tabletop. She couldn't quite believe it. She'd finally found him. Two great bulking necklace forms lumbered from the shadows, a metal box held between them. It thudded onto the table before her. Boss Man grinned, tapping its top. Giggles simmered behind her as she lifted the lid with trembling hands. Tears exploded, lip quivering, shoulders shaking. There was no mistaking it. Those cheekbones, large, hollow eyes, even the skin dried and rippled as it was. She touched his forehead, sweeping away a dirty blonde fringe, and kissed him. She pulled his cracking and snapping corpse into her arms, his jaw swinging open in one last horrific scream. Falling to her knees, she pressed him close to her chest, where he belonged. Why didn't you tell me? She spluttered between sobs. I said you'd see him again. Here you go. Laughter rose like hyenas on the hunt. The unwashed bodies pressing coffin close around her. It's okay, honey, she whispered to her son, rocking back and forth. I got the bastards. I got them. 2 of them. Anyway, boss man sneered. What? I said there were accomplices. I didn't say all three were. You humans are so eager to jump to your worst instincts. Oh dear God. Oh God. He can't help you, Anna. We have a long-standing arrangement. He finished the wine with a lip smack. Why are you doing this to me? You're monsters, all of you. Boss man leaned forward. Didn't I say I've a soft spot for the innocent? Poor Jimmy suffered because of you. You're the monster who left her 6-year-old son alone in the park whilst you scored some smack. She wailed. I'm clean now. It seemed pointless to try to explain. It wasn't going to bring him back. What the fuck are you? She roared. You know already. You've always known. And now you're mine. Forevermore. To a cacophony of laughter, she lowered Jimmy's remains back into the metal box, slowly closed the squeaking hinge, said goodbye, and gave up. Her finger wrapped around the trigger, the barrel cold beneath her chin. Perhaps in death she could be a better kind of mother. See you soon, son. The courthouse. Almost 8:30 a.m. It was just before court would begin when his dead client, Mr. Black, showed up to talk. Benny knew the consequences for being late, so was short with him. Why are you here now? He spoke in a hushed tone to the apparition in front of him, glancing around as the Alameda County courtroom began to fill up. It would ruin his reputation as the best public defender in the county if people thought he spoke to ghosts. Mr. Black's gray suit, the one he used to always wear, appeared now to fit him well. His cuffs were no longer frayed, the holes gone. Benny tasted the bitter shame of his failure with Mr. Black's case as his stomach knotted. You owe me more. Mr. Black's voice was flat and emotionless, so different from his last day in this courtroom, when the coughs racked his body, his handkerchief filled with blood. Benny's elbows pressed into the table. The air in the courtroom hung thick and stale. His thin fingers nudged the yellow pad, straightening it imperceptibly. He moved his 2 pens, one black and one red, so that they were even to the pad. I paid my debt, Benny whispered. With the last one. Mr. Black's anger roared like a fire, heating up the air around Benny like a blast furnace. The other, past inhabitants of this room, raged, their hate overwhelming him, even with so many clients. Benny prided himself that he cared about everyone, those he had saved from jail time, and those who were put away. Mr. Black was the first one to come back and visit him, though, after dying in prison, professing his innocence with his last breath. For the accused, Benny, king of the pleas, was the PD to get in, Alameda County. Most of his clients walked, or at least avoided jail time. Benny averaged 600 cases each year, however, so had some losses, and Benny felt the pain of everyone, but innocence and guilt have no place in the criminal justice system. And Benny had begun to wonder if his work meant anything. Some of his clients were monsters, and better off behind bars. Benny worked for his clients, but he lived in this city, had to deal with the crime and violence. Should he put his thumb on the scales of justice? Today, his past clients were weighing in, screaming in thunderous rage, frustration, and anger at what happened to them in this cursed room. "I shouldn't be here. It's not my fault," one voice called out. "I'm innocent," shouted another, then echoed over and over again into a cacophony, overwhelming Benny. Mr. Black's face leaned in to Benny, his voice roaring. "Pay up, or else." Bang, bang, bang. A gavel thundered, echoing off the wood walls around him. Mr. Black left, fading into the crowd, and taking the voices with him. Benny released his breath, trying to focus on where he was and why. "The court is called to order," the judge called out. A pale, gray man with red and piercing eyes. His head floated above his black cloak. Benny blinked, looking around as the colors of the room came into focus. A man in an ill-fitting suit slumped next to him, eyes downcast. Fear vibrated in waves off the man. The fingers of his left hand pick at the nails of his right, over and over. The scraping sound like claws on steel bars. He leaned over to Benny. "Mr. Benny, we're going to be okay, right? You're going to save me. I mean, we have the receipt. It proves I wasn't there for the rape. They can't put this one on me." Benny nodded, but didn't turn. The man's high-pitched voice whined like a broken motor, his breath hot. Benny suddenly hated him, loathed him for being here and needing Benny's help. His life depended on Benny doing his job correctly. Did this man even deserve it? Benny peered toward him, just a glance out of the corner of his eye. Lean as a mop handle, he could not keep still, shoulders moving, fingers picking at imaginary flecks on his borrowed suit and the skin of his hands. Benny's lip curled in disgust. He opened the file, the case notes in perfect order, the receipt on top, stamped with proof of this man's location across town at the time of the sexual assault. The man's arm crossed in front of Benny, his skin red and mottled with sores. He pushed the receipt with a scarred finger. "My Monopoly card. Get out of jail free." He laughed. "I need to keep that. There are a few other girls they don't know about yet." The man winked. Benny brushed his fingers on the receipt. Manicured fingernails pale over his dark skin, smoothing the wrinkled paper. A loud rushing sound filled Benny's head. They called to him, his clients who had been in the wrong place at the wrong time, whose lives he could not save due to a lack of this kind of solid alibi. He heard them screaming, shouting at the unfairness, the inhumanity. At the district attorney's table across from him, a tall, thin woman stared with shrewd, cold eyes. She turned away to put her head down into a stack of files. Voices cried out from her table too. People wronged and insulted in the worst way. Losing property, their self-respect, or their family, and then forced to sit in this horrible room and go home with nothing but tears and anger. Their voices were loud. Punish, vengeance, an eye for an eye. The screams racked Benny's brain, and he shut his eyes. His hands flew to his temple, pressing in to quiet their cries. Bang, bang, bang. The gavel thundered again. Benny stood, motioning to his client to stand as well. Benny clenched his jaw and knew the answer to his dilemma. Forget what was best for the client or society. Benny needed to look out for himself. This man will be sacrificed to Mr. Black to appease him and the demons chasing Benny. This man was guilty, of course. Maybe not for this crime, but for another, Benny was certain. Benny will change places, go from the defender to the accuser, from the protector to the judge. His fingers moved, just a brief sweep, and the paper receipt floated unseen, down out of the file, into the trash can. Gone. The trial moved fast. A police officer, serious and trustworthy in his pressed blue uniform, pointed at the man next to Benny. That's the guy. Whispers erupted from the courtroom. Bodies shifted on the wooded seats, squeaking with their movements. That man is just evil. I could tell right off. Someone said, the monster should hang for what he did to that girl. Another voice added, bang, bang, bang. Justice thundered down from on high. The verdict is guilty, the judge shouted, a sneer on his face. Next. Benny squeezed his eyes shut as the voices in his head roared out, echoing, guilty, guilty. The bailiff pulled on the man next to him. No, I'm innocent, he screamed. Mr. Benny, what happened? Mr. Black appeared in front of Benny, nodding before he left, with the man to his future hell. Then the voices were gone, the sudden silence deafening. Benny picked up his red hen to carefully put a small X to the end of the line of thousands of black and red marks, then lifted the next file off the foot-high stack next to him. Justice will be done. Monster with two faces. She tries to persuade me every time I see her. The problem is, she doesn't know me like I know me. She doesn't know I have two faces. One, an angelic face, acceptable to society. It's the one I show her and everyone else. The other face is an unsettling one, with the coolness of its dead gray eyes and the chill of its lifeless skin. I keep it locked inside the most hidden parts of me. I can't show it to the world. They won't accept it. How are you doing today, Nicole? she asks as she sips her chamomile tea. The smell makes me nauseous. I hate the smell of lavender. If not the lavender, it could be the honey. Whatever smell exists inside her cup, making her so calm. My fingers itch to shatter the mug in her hands and watch her lose her composure. I detest the way she tilts her head. Mostly, I can't stand the pity in her eyes as she uses her words to claw at my layers. She wants to understand me. I want to understand why she wastes her time. I've spent years with myself, and even I don't know how I became this sick creature writhing in on itself in front of her. Actually, that's a lie. It takes a monster to create a monster. Still, what happens when a monster wants to become human? I search her face like she holds the keys to my humanity. I can't complain. I smile through my words. Life treats me well enough. The clock ticks down on the wall like a slow, dripping faucet. 58 minutes to go. She watches me watch the door. I imagine I look like a dog thrown in a tub for a bath. I need to be clean, yet I watch the door because I hate the water. I watch it like my life depends on it. Any second, the door will crack open with an escape from this horrible magnifying glass I'm under. I wait for more words to pour out of her like suds, washing away the dirtiest parts of me. Last time, we made real progress. I'm proud of you for sharing pieces of your past. It can be hard to share parts of yourself with a stranger. Her words irritate my nervous system, setting me on edge. I'm not sharing parts of me to make her proud. She speaks to me like I have a choice being here. I don't have a choice. I am sick. I am so sick inside. Society says sitting on a couch is the answer to sewing my aching flesh back together into something that looks human. It isn't hard, actually. When I talk about myself, I don't feel anything at all. It's like talking about a stranger to a stranger. She takes another slow sip of her disgusting tea and pierces me with her eyes. They're green with layers of yellow, like a dying lawn on a hot summer's day. Her legs cross in crisp pants, white like hospital walls. I stare with an empty feeling in my chest at her sandals. Her toes peek through the tops with a fresh red pedicure. Rich blonde highlights color her hair. Not a single strand out of place. She holds herself together with confidence and grace. I can't help wondering what it's like to love yourself like that. I can't help wondering what it's like to love yourself at all. Last time we spoke about your uncle. Do you want to talk more about what happened? How's your boyfriend? I ask. Is he still out of town? Must be hard. She takes the bait. He should be back the 1st of next month. We spend the next 30 minutes talking about the places he travels for work. She's oblivious to the way I can bat around our conversations like a cat with a mouse. I can't say why I waste these sessions like this. I can, but no one will like the answer. I waste them because I want help, and I don't want help. I want to pretend I'm putting in the work to be more human. Look at me. I am one step closer to being like all the other humans around me. I'm not an empty shell. I am not a monster. With 10 minutes of our session left on the clock, I feel safe sliding over another dirty part of me for her to clean. My fingers tangle themselves in the gray fleece blanket on her couch while I choose my words. I won't tell her the full truth. I'll tell her half and see how she reacts. You never know with humans. They say they want to help you. They only want what's best for you. In my experience, they will throw you under the bus the moment it serves them. I'm not condemning them. Don't get me wrong. How could I? I do the same thing and worse. Sometimes I throw people under the bus for no reason other than because I feel like it. I think I have an addiction, I confess. Her response is safe and neutral. A lot of people struggle with addictions. It takes a lot of courage to ask for help. I rearrange my face into what I think looks like relief. That makes me feel better. Her lips are glossed over with rosy pink tint. I watch, fascinated with the way they glisten as she speaks. What are you struggling with? I pause before I answer. I'm shifting through my memories of the night before. I've been seeing the same man for 6 weeks. His name isn't important. I don't bother too often with things like that. It lasted a little longer this time than it usually does. Thoughts of his hands on my thighs and his lips on my neck make me shiver. I consider how to tell this perfect blonde woman in front of me how sex is the only thing that makes me feel anything at all. 6 weeks before him, it was someone who only lasted 10 minutes. Anthony, was it? We locked eyes in the elevator on our way to biology. College campus was always deserted for our late-night classes. He had dark hair and a lazy smile. His brown eyes lingered on mine a bit too long after the doors closed. And I knew. I closed the gap between us and slipped my tongue into his mouth. He tasted like strawberry Pop-Tarts. He didn't move for a moment, and then there he was, sliding warm hands up my dress like they had a right to be there. Men are like that. I can't seem to stop eating, I confess. We have only a few minutes left of our session. She spends this time talking to me about how to sit with cravings. It's all in one ear and out the other. She tells me when the impulses hit me, try to resist for as long as I can. If I can resist for 1 hour, resist for 1 hour. If I can resist for 5 minutes, resist for 5 minutes. I smile and thank her for the session. You help me so much. I am grateful for these discussions. I can't tell you how much you've done for me since I started seeing you for therapy. I lie. I quickly shoot for the door. An hour of compassion, real or fake, is too much for me. It makes my skin crawl when people show things like affection or kindness. I wish she would tell me I'm disgusting. I long to hear her tell me I am a waste of space who can't be saved. Anything out of those perfect pink lips resembling the truth. Instead, she wastes all our time with empty words as she tries to convince me I am not a monster. Hours after our session, I find myself with a strange man I don't know. We had talked earlier on a dating app. He's attractive enough, with a single dimple on his left cheek when he smiles. Not that looks really matter much to me. I slide into a green Toyota Camry with a missing passenger mirror. It smells like cigarettes and old fast food bags. Baby, you are so hot, he tells me as he paws at my thigh with his calloused fingers. I'll be honest, there is a small part of me who wishes I would stop doing this to myself. I hate the way I give myself to anyone who asks. Yet, that's the thing about addictions. Even if you hate yourself for it, you can't stop. I take his hand and slide it further up my skirt. I hear him breathe in deep, and I can tell how much he wants me. His car brings us to a gloomy-looking house in a sketchy part of town. We are in a dark room that smells like sweat. Before I can blink, he is on me. His fingers are wrapping around my throat. He holds me down, taking what he wants. His other hand is lost in my hair. He pulls it rough enough. It stings, bringing tears to my eyes. I want to scream for him to stop. I don't. Like I told you before, I'm sick inside. I hold myself hostage and force myself to lay still. I won't escape from this. I'll stay until I learn to love it. If I were a bit more human, this would be nothing for me. I'd love it all the same ways all the other humans do. It's only because I am a monster that I feel disgusting inside. The night sky is empty, abandoned by the moon, as we climb in the car for him to take me home. He tells me how captivated he is by my smile, how when he saw it for the first time, he felt like he was the only person left in the world. He asks me when he can see me again. I already know the answer as I climb from his car to the asphalt parking lot, glittering in the street light. The concrete stairwell swallows me into its many shadows, and I am indifferent to the fact I'll never see him again. Another week passes, and I am on her couch again, the therapist. I can feel the bruises on my thighs. There are marks all over my body she can't see even as I sit in front of her. It's always like this. How often do we sit in front of another person's eyes, and they can't see the wounds covering us? It makes me laugh. Part of me thinks I should confess. I don't bother. You can't tell someone about the wounds you inflict on yourself. Wasn't I asking for it? How are we doing this week, Nicole? I'm fine. How are you? Small talk makes me gag. Even so, I've learned to play the game over the years. It's empty when someone asks you how you are. They ask, yet I promise, when you tell them what's really beneath your surface, they will avoid you after. We're all liars here. Monsters like me are more willing to admit the truth. Ironic, isn't it? How are the nightmares? My body clenches at her words, like she hit me. This is what I'm here for, I remind myself. I'm here to fix my disfigured mind, my malformed thinking, my disturbed existence. I'm here to become human again. He was in them, I admit. As soon as I say the words, he's there with me on the couch. He tucks loose pieces of hair behind my ear and drags me back to our memories together. You're such a pretty girl, Nicole. You know it, don't you? I am 10 years old again, and I nod. I love it when he makes me feel special like this. I am the only one he talks to this way. I mean so much to him. He places an innocent hand on my shoulder and then pulls with long fingers at the lace on my sleeves. Do you like this dress I bought for you? I love it, I tell him, while I give the white lacy dress a twirl for his viewing pleasure. I never knew my dad, so this relationship is special for me. Uncle Dean always goes out of his way to do nice things for my sake. No one has to tell me how lucky I am to have him take care of me. He pulls me onto his lap, where he tugs at my fly-away curls, twisting their chestnut-colored locks in his hands. People tell him all the time what a cute little girl he has. They tell me I look like him. It's almost as if I'm his daughter and not his niece. I've been thinking, Nicole, you are getting older now. And with what a pretty girl you're turning out to be, we have some things to talk about. I look at his eyes, a cold mixture of gray and blue, and hang on to his every word. I've noticed in the past the way people look at him when we go out together. His hair is blonde and wavy in a way that complements his fair skin. His shoulders are broad, and the arms he holds me with are strong, with thick muscles. He's handsome. It's not just me who listens when he speaks. It's like the people around him can't help it. His words are always captivating. His smile makes you feel like you are the only person in the world. I'm proud he belongs to me. I'm worried boys will start giving you problems. He frowns, and it crushes me. I study his lips and wonder what's wrong with me, that boys will give me problems. I can't stand the look of displeasure on his face. I'll do anything to replace it with a smile. My fingers find the bottom of my dress where I tear at it helplessly. I can't let myself be a burden to him, not when he took responsibility for a child who wasn't his. I think it's important for me to teach you how to handle them for when you're older, don't you think? I nod, eager to cheer him up. You're a good girl, Nicole. I know you'll do fine. He leans in close to my ear, with my curls still twisted in his fingers. When you get older, men will expect you to please them. I don't want you to worry. I'll teach you how. I'll teach you everything you need to know. A voice startles me from my memories. Nicole? Nicole? Where did you go? I look up and see her. The therapist. The one who is supposed to hold all the answers to my questions. The angel who tells me none of this is my fault, and how I am not the monster he made me. I smile towards her, as if I had been here on the couch with her the whole time. I smile as if I don't remember every single lesson he taught me. Is everything all right? Her eyes are concerned. You have tears running down your face. I lift a hand to my cheek and realize she's telling the truth. I touch the wetness with fingers that don't feel like my own. This happens to me all the time. I'm in my body, but I'm not. I don't understand where the tears come from either. After all, I am a monster. I'm numb. Whether I hurt others or make them laugh, I feel nothing inside me at all. This is a safe place, Nicole. I'm here to listen. I can't help finding her words amusing. I've been to safe places before, you see. That's where I discovered safe places are the most dangerous places of all. The places where you let down your guard and trust the people around you, leave you vulnerable. Those kinds of places are where monsters live. You enter them and never know they're watching you, waiting. They wait for the moments they can bury their claws into your flesh, taking things from you that you will never get back. Monsters are real, despite those who lack conviction. It's only fools who believe in safe places. Last night, I sat on my kitchen floor and ate an entire cake. I lie to her again. I couldn't stop myself. Don't you think that makes me disgusting? I can't tell if her sympathy is real or fake. I can't tell if she only has one face, the face she looks at me with, or if she too has another one buried deep inside her. I study her cheetah print shirt and the gold hoop earrings underneath her straightened hair. I can't tell if she's human or if she's another monster like me. We hide so well sometimes that we don't even recognize the monsters deep inside ourselves. Of course, I don't think that, she tells me. Her words offer me the smallest amount of relief. I feel myself relax for only a fraction of a second. It's all I can ever relax after I turned into this creature. I give her my best smile. You don't think I'm a monster? She reassures me she doesn't. I slide out of her heavy wooden door after the rest of our session has passed and remind myself she is a professional. If she saw a human without a beating heart in front of her, she would know it wasn't human anymore. The fact that she doesn't, it means there is still hope for me. The barber's pole. Oscar sits in his barber's chair, reading the Trentonian on his iPhone, cataloging the day's stories for the early rush. Oscar pays special attention to the stock charts and the upcoming highway projects. People love to talk about making money and to complain about traffic. The bell rings and Michael walks in. He is a tall, well put together trader type in his early 30s, wearing a crisp white button-down and expensive men's Oxford shoes. Oscar yells, "Maria! Maria! Customer! Get in here, I need a wash." Oscar packs the espresso filter basket with Stumptown hair bender, espresso grinds, and tamps down the shot of brown powder. He purges the group head with a quick shot of steam, then locks the filter into the espresso machine and starts brewing. The dark, black espresso drips like droplets of dark, black blood. Drip, drip, drip. Then the platelets of the steamy brew ruffle out the lighter oils and gases, lathering them into a milky brown crema in the top of the white espresso cup. It looks like coagulating blood congealing around the white skin of a fresh wound. The association with blood unsettles Oscar. The thought of fresh red blood, thick and full, like pomegranate juice. The irresistible impulse to cut. His mind stirs with perverse thoughts that he cannot silence, even though it is before 9:00 a.m. The Oscar pours 2 shots of minty Sambuca Romana alongside the espressos. Something to take the edge off. "Hair of the dog that bit ya," Oscar says, thinking of bite marks on an arm and the serrated cuts of the canine teeth drawing out syrupy red nectar. "Here, sit down, and let's get you a wash." Oscar ushers Michael over to Maria's washing station and down into the sliding chair that leans back over the sink and pushes his head back over the neck rest. Oscar takes his shot and feels a gnawing in his stomach at the thought of blood, an unfathomable craving to drain life from the veins. Maria has inky black hair, still wet from her own morning shower. The fresh, earthy shampoo scents of lavender and mint waft off of her. She also has a hint of a touch of perfume, maybe a Chanel, tantalizing with a musky base and notes of fresh, dense jasmine and the acidic afterbite of citrus. She is college age, but too young to drink legally. Fresh and pure with clean blue eyes and smooth skin. She speaks in a sing-song way, softly, like a hushed breath. "Here, close your eyes. Here, is it too warm?" Now, relax your shoulders. Almost done. Oscar is making a trade on his dual trading screens in the corner to distract himself from his bloodlust while he waits for Michael's wash to be finished. Maria places Michael's head back under the mobile shower head, pours water over his forehead, and smooths the baby fine threads of silky blonde hair back with her soft hands and delicate, ringed fingers. Michael feels the warmth of her palm and the cold of her rings under the rushing water. Maria applies the shampoo and works it through his blonde, straight hair, massaging his forehead and pulling the lather and water back all the way down past his ears to his neck. Then she sits him up and begins toweling him off. "Ready?" Oscar says. He hands Michael his shot of liqueur, which he abruptly drinks, and then sits down in Oscar's chair and dons the barber's apron. "What'll it be? The usual?" As Michael nods, Oscar methodically cleans his Wall Pro Series clippers. He uses a brush to clear the blades and carriage, then sprays some sanitizing disinfectant, twice facing up, once facing down. He applies 3 or 4 drops of oil to the toe and heel of the blade. He runs the clipper, then wipes them down, and begins methodically fading the hair with different length settings to accomplish a clean skin fade. As Oscar cuts and the two men talk, Oscar notices a small skin lesion, a brown mark by the earlobe. It glistens in the fluorescent overhead lighting. "It's been rough," Michael says. "Hey, what do you think of this P&G stock?" Oscar asks. "I'm depressed, Oscar. I feel useless. I don't make any good decisions these days. I don't think you should take my advice on anything. The smell of barbasol is stirred up and invades the nose. A smell of oak moss, coumarin, and clove, intrusive as old eggs." She left him a note. "Dinner is on the table. I was tired," Oscar explains, trying to let Michael know that while it sucks to be out of work, it is a good time to reflect. After all, it is sometimes work that gets in the way of relationships. There is nothing like your own flesh and blood to drive you to madness. Now, it is time for the shave with the straight razor. Oscar reaches over his shoulders and unbuttons the top 2 buttons. He then takes a paper towel and places it over the back collar of the shirt. Oscar unbuttons the cape and drapes it loosely over the shoulders. He pulls out a fresh linen towel and lays it over Michael's right shoulder. He then grabs a hot towel from the towel warmer with a set of tongs and pats it on the chin, mouth, upper lip, and cheeks, while Michael leans his head back and enjoys the steam of the towel laid now over his forehead and eyes. Oscar uses a small brush to foam the hot lather in a cup. "You have a little growth I haven't seen before," Oscar says. "Oh yeah," Michael says. "Here, take a look," Oscar says, showing him the mirror and where the little brown bump peeks out from the mounds of shaving foam. Huh, guess I do, Michael says. After your shave, you want me to lance it off? Oscar asks, hopefully. Yeah, guess so, Michael says reflexively. Oscar licks his lips, purses them, nods his head up and down, and feels the adrenaline of the thought of blood rise to his forehead. What a rush. Oscar takes the straight razor off the shelf. He takes a fresh blade from the paper wrapping and places it in the stabilizers by the shoulder of the blade. Oscar applies the hot lather and begins pulling the blade along the skin. The sound is close to Michael's ears and sounds like paper ripping, or like the sound of a rake on the sand. He keeps his eyes closed as Oscar finishes the shave. All the while, Oscar's heart is beating quickly, and his eyes are dilated and buggy in the mirror. A droplet of sweat forms on his brow. Just a small nick in the right spot. No. He mustn't think of it. He already has his treat. You ready? Oscar says. No time like the present, Michael tells him. Then Oscar applies pressure, and the blade slips into the skin, just below the imperfection. The slightest circular wince and a pull back out from the cut. As Oscar withdraws the blade and the lesion in one stroke, fresh, syrupy blood pools, the drip of blood, the whooshing sound of the blood flowing through the veins, the gurgle of coagulating blood, clotting and sealing the wound. Oscar feels giddy. There are goosebumps on the back of his neck, and he feels a jolt of adrenaline throughout his whole body. Oscar takes a styptic pencil to bind the wound. The saliva pools on the back of his tongue, looking at the juicy red drops. In a moment, the wound is treated, and all is well. See you in 2 weeks, Oscar says. Michael hands him a tip, pats his shoulder, and heads out into the bright midday sun. All afternoon, Oscar paces back and forth, turning the chair over with customer after customer. But the call of the blood is like a voice in his head. The dark impulses well up from an unknown source. Try as he might, Oscar can't put it out of his mind. Oscar knows that in medieval times, the barber's pole was a sign of the bloodletting that old-time barber surgeons would perform in their shops. The poles are blue for the veins revealed under a tourniquet, and red for the flowing blood. It was thought that draining one's blood into a metal dish would extract bad humors that caused disease. Barbers also performed amputations, pulled and cleaned teeth, set bones, and even delivered babies. But Oscar could not get the thought of blood out of his head. E.B. had gone down to Two Brothers Pizza and brought back an Italian sub that smelled like wet feet and oil. As he ate it in giant bites, Oscar thought of the gush of blood a bite into human flesh would make. Maria skipped over and plopped down in Oscar's chair. You want me to scrape clean all the baby hairs on the back of your neck? Oscar asks Maria. If it isn't too much trouble, she whispers. Oscar gets his blade ready and pulls up Maria's hair into a high bun, carefully making sure to get all of it held up in the air. Oscar applies the hot foam lather. He begins scraping clean the neckline, but he can see and feel the arteries and veins drawing up her neck. The sound of the blood vessels, the blue rivers running just below the surface, the smell of her Chanel perfume, the moist, young, supple skin. Oscar cannot resist the perverse longing for blood. He is disgusted with himself, ashamed. But the cut is everything. Almost done, Oscar says, tensing the blade in his hand and looking for his mark. Thank you so much, Maria says. But Oscar chooses his spot and dips the blade into the willowy flesh. A gush of blood spurts. A gusher. It spurts in a few plops, like a garden hose with your thumb over the nozzle, then drips down onto the rim of her white crew neck shirt, pooling out into the linen fibers. Ow, she yells. Did you cut me? Just a little nick. That's all, Oscar says. But his heart is racing, and his hands are shaking from the excitement. He tends to her wound quickly, efficiently, and professionally, with great care. But Maria is not having it. I'm outta here, Pops. Until I get this looked at. Thanks a lot. Thanks for nothing, Maria says, as she stomps out. But she will be back. Oscar smiles and pours himself some Sambuca Romana. E.B., he says, isn't it just the darndest thing how satisfying it is to make a clean cut? The fat apprentice barber looks up in shock, red onion and ham hanging out of his mouth, and attempts a smile, totally at a loss for what his boss is talking about. Oscar searches online for a proper bleeding bowl. Obviously, there is no such thing on Amazon. So, Oscar chooses an elegant stainless steel reserve bowl. At $43, it is a luxury purchase. Next, Oscar has to get his hands on a fleam. This is the best way to do bloodletting. It is clean and precise and quick, unless you tap the blade too hard and sever an artery. One would be surprised how fast a femoral artery bleeds out. Oscar purchases some tourniquets and various medical supplies. What will someone think if they find out what he is up to? A few days have passed, and Oscar's order has arrived. And this is Oscar's chance. Marjorie sits in Oscar's chair. She is in her 70s, a large black woman who wears gorgeous dresses and maintains the vanity of a much younger woman. She has great, dyed black hair that falls in waves. The fat of her lips and jowls is all in the right places to make for an inviting face that warms and endears. Found a spot on my liver. Maybe that is what is giving me all these liver spots and spider veins, she says. Maybe, Oscar says with a knowing grin. What's that look for? She asks. Nothing. It's just that They used to have a way to purify the liver. Back a long, long time ago, in medieval times. Purify the liver. Oh, yes, please. I could use some of that, Marjorie says. It's a little gothic, if you know what I mean. It involves a cut in the arm and draining your blood, Oscar says, as matter-of-factly as he can. Are you missing a screw? She says. I didn't think you'd be interested. It's only for people who are really serious about maintaining a youthful look, Oscar says. Evil humors. Heavens to Betsy. What will they think of next? She asks. Like I said, not for you. I already knew when I brought it up. But I have had some who've had miraculous results, Oscar said. Now, these results, it can clear up the skin, she asks. You would never believe me if I told you. Takes off 10 years, Oscar says. More than that, if you cut too deep, I'd imagine, Marjorie says. Well, we are all finished with your cut, so if there's nothing, I'll do it, Marjorie says. What, really? Oscar asks. Of course, 10 years, I have to see for myself, Marjorie says. Oscar fastens the tourniquet below her bicep. The veins under her black skin come forward. Deep blue rivers. Oscar begins to sweat, and his hands grow damp. 1 second, he yells, rushing to the back room for his bleeding bowl and fleam. In seconds, he emerges with the utensils. Marjorie is singing, Dit-da-dum, did-da-dum. Are you washed in the blood? In the soul-cleansing blood of the Lamb? Are your garments spotless? Are they white as snow? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? As she hums and sings, Oscar sharpens the blade of the fleam. He places the bleeding bowl on the floor below her left arm. Are you ready, Marjorie? Oscar asks in hushed tones. Are you ready? Let's get it over with already, she says. Oscar places the fleam and its triangular blade just over the blood vessel on her left arm. It will just sting a bit, Oscar says, swinging his fist and digging the fleam deep into her arm. Oh dear, Marjorie says. I already feel a bit lightheaded. Oscar sees the trickle of blood run down the arm to the fingers and the drip, 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 drip into the bowl. He grabs her bicep with pumping squeezes and says, More like this, Marge. This is better. Stop, Oscar. You are hurting me, Marjorie says. Just a little more, and it'll run good, Oscar says, with faraway eyes, glazed over in a helical madness. I'm losing too much blood, Marjoire cries. I'm going to bleed out. But Oscar cleans the wound with alcohol, does a quick butterfly stitch to seal the vein and the wound, and makes quick work with the bandages. Marjorie is ghastly pale. She gets up. She is trembling. She drops some money on the floor and turns and walks out in a trance. I won't be seeing her again, Oscar thinks, as the little bell sounds. And she leaves. In the back of the shop, with the blood bowl in hand, engorged in endorphins, Oscar observes the blood, sniffs it, puts in a finger, swirls it around, and indulges in a little taste. It tastes like steak. It tastes great. E.B. comes back from running errands and storms right up to Oscar when he walks in. "Boss, I got a call from Marjorie Jones on my way back over," E.B. says. "Did you get the inspection stickers?" Oscar says, referring to a little side business they have selling fake inspection stickers that are supposedly from the DMV. "Boss, that woman nearly died," E.B. says. "She was having skin problems, E.B. She was looking old. She proceeded at her own risk," Oscar says. "Oh yeah? You have a lawyer sort that one out?" E.B. asks. "It's nothing out of the ordinary," Oscar says. "Barbers have been doing it for hundreds of years. If you ever do anything like this again, I'm done. That's it," E.B. says. "The blood. It is the most extraordinary thing. Dark and also light. Substantial, but also fluid." "Are you losing it, Oscar? Are you literally going crazy?" E.B. asks. "You know the feeling when you give someone a perfect cut?" Oscar asks, and continues. "It is the same feeling. Exactly the same." "Whatever, boss," E.B. says, sitting down and stress-eating his second hoagie of the day. Oscar walks back into the back of the shop and sees the old hand-drawn sign in the corner. Oscar's Unisex Cuts, 8 to 8 MS. Oscar goes into the refrigerator and stirs his fingers in the blood, then puts his whole palm in. Then he takes a fresh, hot towel and submerges it in the bloody liquid. He pulls it out and finds the white barber's pole that he bought from the specialty shop. He wraps the towel helically around the pole. It is a helical swirl of red and white, the red splatter of real blood. He puts the plastic covering over it, walking past E.B., eating his sub. Oscar goes outside and stands by the storefront. He takes a hammer and starts installing his new barber's pole. He stands back, hands on hips, admiring his work. His eyes are bloodshot from the adrenaline, and his lips are red from the blood.